Welcome to the May edition of Northeast Journal. I'm your host, Joe Cullen. Coming up in the next half hour, we're bringing you a special library edition of Northeast Journal. We'll have a number of stories and interviews all about libraries in Ramsey and Washington County. We'll learn about a remodeling project at the White Bear Lake Library. We'll see what kids are learning at area story times. And we'll visit a unique library in North St. Paul. All that and more straight ahead on Northeast Journal. Hello everyone and welcome to the May edition of Northeast Journal. I'm your host, Joe Cullen. Every month on Northeast Journal, we give you an inside look at the people and places that make up the Northeast section of the Twin Cities. We're bringing you this month's show from the Ramsey County Library Branch in White Bear Lake. This month's entire show is devoted to our area libraries. Later in the show, we'll get details about a renovation project taking place at this particular library. But first, area teens recently could have been relaxing during spring break, but many of them spent their time at the Maplewood Library for a tech camp. Let's take a look. It's not every day you see catapults at a library, but that's exactly what took place recently over spring break at the Maplewood Library. It was all part of the Teen Tech Camp, which was created by teen librarian Amy Bass.
And basically what we're trying to do is say, hey, this is all the stuff that exists in the world that you might be interested in, that you might not be able to access anywhere else. So, think about a career in engineering, think about a career in video game design, think about your world is somewhere that you can make change and do interesting things.
The middle and high school students in attendance did a variety of activities over 2 days, including video game design, building catapults, and using a 3D printer. The Teen Tech Camp is put on by the Ramsey County Library System, along with the Educational Equity Alliance, which is a collaboration between area school districts.
We hope that we offer programming that allows them to tap into their creative side and possibly explore career areas for their future, learning what technology has to offer and how they can get involved as they continue on within their schooling.
Edwin Collins tells us about some of the things he worked on at the tech camp.
I learned this thing called GarageBand, and I got to make like instruments, like play instruments and make like a beat and different things. So it was kind of fun, and we got to do science, so we made like 2 brushes and we put like a battery on it so it moves in circles.
There has been a push in educational circles to get girls more interested in technology. If the turnout at the Teen Tech Camp was any indication, that push was working.
We're so excited to have the girls join us. Yesterday it was so fantastic. We had a team of 3 girls taking apart and putting together a computer. These are 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, getting their hands dirty, not really dirty, but getting in and seeing how it all works. And I could see the light bulbs going on within their as they were doing it, that it was really fun. So that was a really great opportunity to see women, young girls, get involved in technology.
I want to be an engineer, so I thought this would be a good idea to try it out and see if I actually do want to do this.
I guess I'd never think to open a computer and just take it apart and put it back together and see if it works. I never thought I could do something like that, and now I do know I can.
I really like technology and coding. I took a coding class through Matamita last year, so I thought it would be really fun.
Bass thinks the library is the perfect place to hold a teen tech camp.
The library being maybe not the first place that people think about for this kind of programming, but absolutely perfect for it, because we are the place where information is gathered together, and we are the place where people can get together and talk about and experiment and think about things, big things, little things, hands-on things in this case.
The library will host another teen tech camp this summer. Junior Kieran McCloy highly recommends it to his fellow classmates.
I know a lot of people are either really for technology or really against technology in terms of their skills. They either have it or they don't, they think. You do, you just have to learn it. And this is a great place, fail-safe environment to learn it. even if you don't think you're great with technology, you might surprise yourself. I know I sure did.
We traveled over to the Wildwood Library in Matamidi, which is part of the Washington County Library System, to listen to a Navy veteran read to a group of kids for story time. Here's the story.
I was in the Navy and I worked on airplanes.
Patrick Miller is used to being in front of crowds as a member of the Willarney City Council. But the Storytime group at the Wildwood Library in Matamidi was a whole new experience for him.
Their ears are leather and their arms come off for convenience when going down holes. Well, I was a little nervous about reading in front of all the kids.
Miller was invited to the Storytime to honor him for his years of service in the Navy.
Well, today we had a special story time to celebrate Month of the Military Child, and it's just a special day to honor all the military families that we have in our communities. And across Washington County, at all the libraries, we had special programs to honor this month at all of our branches.
After Youth Services Coordinator Don LaBrosse read to the kids, it was Miller's turn.
Making bets with money, how shocking!
He read a book about corgis, since he owns that breed of dog.
I had some things to read about veterans and soldiers coming home and going away, but she kind of covered that, so I just left that part out and worked out fine.
It was great to be able to have them read a story and just kind of raise awareness about this for kids. At this age, it's kind of hard for them to grasp, but it's never too early to kind of make sure that they understand that there's different families with different dynamics.
Other Washington County Library branches also held activities, including story times and games, to commemorate Month of the Military Child. The meeting room here at the White Bear Lake Library has a variety of uses. It gets pretty busy in here on Friday mornings when dozens of kids come for story time. Recently, a White Bear Lake police officer was the special guest reader for story time. Check it out.
So I put the lights on there.
A police car outside the White Bear Lake Library didn't mean there was an emergency, just a special guest on hand for children's story time.
The rear-wheel drive ones are a little hard to drive in the wintertime.
We have the police coming, so we try and get community members to come in and talk to the kids about different things that I can't provide in story time. We try and do that quarterly to connect with the community, and it's a lot of fun, especially for something like the police where they can bring a squad car. The kids and the parents really love that.
Officer Nate Hook from the White Bear Lake Police Department was on hand to read to the kids. After a few books and songs from the children's librarian, it was Officer Hook's turn to do some reading.
This is my neighborhood. The police station is in my neighborhood.
Officer Hook, who is originally from New Zealand, used to be a high school teacher before becoming a cop in the United States. Reading to preschool kids was a new assignment for him, though.
It was probably one of the scarier things I've done. Even as a high school teacher, you know, the bigger kids are different, so the little ones are like, whoa. Yeah, so it was a different challenge, but yeah, fun.
After reading to the kids, Officer Hook showed off some of the items a police officer carries on their belt.
Obviously, it has the gun, as the young man mentioned here.
He says coming to story time was a good way to teach the kids about his profession.
A lot of parents will unfortunately say things like, look, there's a police officer. If you don't behave, I'm going to have him arrest you. And of course, that's an extremely negative connotation for a police officer because the majority of our role is helping. People come to us for all sorts of issues, as I said to the kids, medicals, civil issues, things like that where people need assistance or even just plain old advice about what to do. And we're often the first port of call for all sorts of issues. It's not the bad stuff or the negative stuff that we're often associated with.
Anna Hazy Krieger is the children's librarian at the White Bear Lake Library. She reads to the kids every Friday morning and says story time is more than just fun for the kids.
It's promoting literacy and reading, but the kids just have so much fun. They have no idea all of the amazing skills that they really are building and learning. I mean, something as simple as doing a song where, you know, you go up and you go down, or they're listening, that's preparing them to listen, translate those actions, self-control. So many skills and all those silly little things that we do are really fundamental building blocks for getting kids ready to read.
Story time at the White Bear Lake Library is every Friday morning at 10:30. The White Bear Lake branch we're in today will temporarily close starting in early June for a renovation. With me today to talk about this is the Ramsey County Library Deputy Director Sandy Walsh and Sue Garretts, who is the Director of the Friends of the Ramsey County Library. I want to thank both of you for being with me here today and welcoming me into the White Bear Lake Library. Now, first off, before we get into talking about what's going to be happening here at the White Bear Lake Library, What exactly is the Friends of the Ramsey County Library?
We are the nonprofit organization, Joe, that since 1979 has been raising private funds to support all kinds of vital programs and services in the suburban Ramsey County libraries. And we have also, in the last 10 years, done 4 capital campaigns, so this will be our 5th.
Great. And Sandy, what exactly do you do in your role as the Deputy Director? And I understand it's over the whole Ramsey County system, not just White Bear Lake, right?
I have a sort of varied portfolio. I do planning and facilities and website stuff and statistics and policies and procedures and miscellaneous lots of things. So
great. And as
yeah,
I mentioned,
really
we're here today in the White Bear Lake branch, and branch has been around for a long time. Can you tell me a little bit about this and why there's a need for doing a project here?
Well, there's been a library on this site for 100 years. It's the 100th birthday of the library this year, which is really an exciting thing that we're able to break ground on a new building in the 100th year. But this building itself was built in the early 70s, and it, aside from minor facelifts, it really hasn't had a remodel since then. So with technology and library services having changed so much in that time, it's really overdue.
And it seems like this has been a long time coming. I know over the years that you've had, meetings with the community to get their input, to see what they would like, and it seems to be a very popular library. So I know people still want one in their community. Can you kind of tell me what kind of things can we expect from the project here?
Well, one of the things we'll be doing is, although it's a really constricted site, we're able to really tear off the front of the building and rebuild it as a large rectangle. So we'll be adding almost 4,000 square feet, which will give us a little extra elbow room. The children's area will be larger and improved. We'll have pre-literacy areas for the little tiny kids. We have a better teen area, separate teen area, group study areas, much more efficient staff workspaces, and then some of the things like the restrooms in the current building aren't ADA accessible. That will all be updated, fire suppression systems, that kind of thing. It really needs to be brought into the 21st century.
Now, Sue, what is the role then of the Friends of the Ramsey County Libraries? How do you guys factor in with this whole project here?
Well, the county will fund the basic building and construction and furnishings. That it will make a nice building, but we're responsible for adding the amenities that will make it really special for people and very welcoming, warm environment. So the kinds of things that we'll be raising money for are things like a fireplace, interactive literacy building, equipment for preschool kids. We are going to be taking on an outdoor patio so that when the weather allows, people can get some fresh air while they're reading. The county does not have a budget for art, and art is an important component of culture and of libraries. So we will be seeking local artists and trying to raise the money to pay for the work. So those are the kinds of things that we'll be doing. As the plans get further along, there will be things that we expect the county will find that they want to have, but there's not enough money for. So that's where we get our final list, our final wish list. And then we work with the community. We are organizing a capital campaign committee right now for this library and seeking volunteers who are willing to help with fundraising events or just talking with people or communications. So if anybody is interested in that, I would hope they would contact me. And I believe our friend's phone number will be on the screen.
Definitely. I understand, guys have been through this before. I understand you've been working with the system for a long time, so I'm sure you've been through this many times. And I know in recent years we've seen, updated libraries in new locations, for Maplewood and updated in Roseville. So I'm sure, guys have kind of been through this before, but I understand June 5th will be the last day that
yes.
the library will be open for a while here.
Yeah, we're staying open through the end of the school year. And then we'll be closing down on June 6th and taking the month of June to pack and ready the building so we can turn it over to the construction company. The Friends will be holding a book sale toward the end of June. I think it's June 26th through 28th in conjunction with Manitou Days.
It also will include library furnishings, and so not just books for this sale.
Great. And where will that sale be held?
Right here.
Oh, right here? Okay, so people come back in. And then the hope is to open the brand new library here in February?
Yes.
February of 2015?
That's the goal.
Okay. And will you be kind of having some events or anything to welcome the public back?
Sure, yeah, I'm sure we will. We haven't gotten to that stage of planning yet, but yes.
That's always exciting part. I know we were there to cover some of the events for both Maplewood and Roseville. It's always exciting when people can see their new library
Right.
again. I'm sure. Are you directing people then, who normally would use this as their home library? Should they just go then to, like Maplewood or someplace for those months?
Sure, yeah. Their request items will automatically go to Maplewood unless they ask to have them sent somewhere else. And we will have some programming in town. I think the history programs and the Mystery Book Club are going to be at the City Hall. And story times will be at, I think it's Pioneer Manor. It's like 4 blocks away from here. It's a city-owned senior facility, and they have a community room that's really nice.
So people still will be able to do some things in the area. And
Right.
How time goes so fast, before we know it, it'll be February again.
Yes, yes. And all the interim services and updates on the project are on the library's website. So if people are interested, they should take a look.
Yeah, I know. So now you can see all the details, how much it's going to cost, the different renderings, and we'll show some of those on the screen as well. And so, as you mentioned, we put your contact on the screen. So you're looking for donations, you're looking for volunteers,
Yes.
any way people could help.
Yes, we have lots of different ways that people can help, and if they have any interest at all, I hope they will give me a call, and I would love to talk with them.
Well, it seems like a lot of people are excited. I know I use this library often, and you do see everybody from the really little tiny kids to I see senior citizens in here. I mean, and everybody in between. So it's definitely a well-loved library.
It's a community place for sure.
People will be excited. Is there anything else you two would like to add before we have to end?
The only thing I would like to add is that if people are interested, there is also a place on the website where they can sign up to get email notices about new developments in the project.
Great. Yeah, and I might add, I'm signed up for those, and you get about this, and also the library newsletter. You can
Right.
see all the different activities throughout the county, so it's a great way to be in the know, I guess, what's going on here. Well, I want to wish you both the best of luck with this project,
Thank
and
you.
we'll hopefully be back here in February to show everybody what it looks like.
Absolutely.
We're excited about it.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot. And it's time for a short break. We'll be right back with more of our special library edition of Northeast Journal in just a minute.
Maybe he's really focused.
Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today.
Welcome back to our special library edition of Northeast Journal. We have many great county and school libraries in the Northeast Metro. Did you know there are also some libraries in front yards? Photojournalist Jeffrey Wilson recently visited one in North St. Paul and has this story.
In a quiet neighborhood in North St. Paul.
It's a learning center. I've decided I'm renaming it, and it's a learning center.
Linda Orsello tends to her little library.
There's adult books and children's books and cooking magazines, and I try to put in activity books and puzzles and beanie babies.
What she has created is a place to encourage learning.
If I was a child, I would come and see a beanie baby, and that would draw me into the library. And then from there, you start looking at the books.
And foster community.
My sister was here from Two Harbors, and she was checking it out the other day, and there was some boys at the park who looked like they're about 14 or 15, and they yelled really loud, "There's some really great books in that library."
Any time of year.
Well, even with all the snow and the bad weather and everything, we could see footprints in the snow. So we knew that people were still using it even all winter long.
An idea pulled from the pages of tragedy.
In 2004, we lost a grandchild at birth. And I just always wanted to do something to make the pain feel a little bit easier. And that's why it's called Emma's Little Library.
Emma's Little Library, charter number 5182 of the Little Free Library movement, is used to foster reading in the community. paying little mind to the take a book, leave a book philosophy.
If you want a book, you come and take it, or take 2 books. To me, it's the reading of it. If I can get children to come in and open the door and want to read a book, and if they return that book, fine. If they return no books, I don't care. I keep restocking it. So it's mostly just to promote reading.
All that is asked is a little information.
I have a notebook in there. The purpose of that was so that I would know who was using it and what their age was and what books they enjoyed, so that I could resupply those books that they were taking.
The city of Hugo doesn't have their own library, but that doesn't mean they can't pick up books right in their own town from the Washington County Library System. Here's a look at the Library Express. Hugo residents have an easy new way to get library materials without ever having to set foot in the library. It's called the Washington County Library Express.
This is the Library Express. It's a new service that we are doing here in Hugo. It's made up of 3 parts. There's the locker system here. Basically, this is where, when you request a book for pickup in Hugo, I check it out to you when it comes to Forest Lake, which is the library where we do a lot of the processing, and then I bring it here and I put it in the locker for you.
Angela Smith, who is the administrative supervisor for the North Group of Washington County Libraries, shows us what to do once you've been notified your materials are at the Library Express.
Well, once you get here, it's super simple. All you have to do is come up to the keypad. It asks you to enter your code. The code is the last 4 digits of your library card number. So if my number was 5769, all I'd have to do is put 5769, press enter, and the correct door will pop open. You can take your items out. They're already checked out to you. Your due date slip is inside the items, and you're good to go.
The lockers are available to use 24/7 as well as a book return drop. A computer kiosk is set up inside Hugo City Hall where patrons can request materials. That computer is available during City Hall hours. Materials can also be requested from the Washington County Library website on home computers. Funding for the Library Express comes from a Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services grant. The lockers are made by a company called LEID Products out of Michigan. The Washington County Library Express is located at Hugo City Hall at 14669 Fitzgerald Avenue North. There's a lot of work that goes into the day-to-day operations of a library. I had the chance to try my hand at a job at the Maplewood Library. Here's how it went. I've always wondered what it would be like to work behind the scenes in the library. Well, today I'll get my chance as I'm working with a library page in the circulation department of the Maplewood Library. My first task was to get acquainted with library page Janet Smeehee, who told me what she does on a daily basis.
Okay, well, the basic job description would probably be taking the books that come into the library, checking them in, and then putting them back onto the shelves.
The Maplewood branch is the first in the Ramsey County Library system to use an automated sorting machine for the thousands of books, CDs, and DVDs that come in each day. Patrons place their items on a moving belt from either inside the lobby or the book drop outside. Janet showed me several tubs of books that also needed to be placed on the belt that belonged to the Maplewood Library but had been returned to another branch. After a quick lesson from Janet,
and this is what you do as much as you can during your time at the machine.
I was ready to begin using the machine. I didn't find the machine to be especially difficult to use, but I had a feeling I would never get through all the books that needed to be checked back in. A log jam here. Once the books are scanned, they are sorted and dumped into a bin depending on what type of book they are. These bins are then loaded onto carts and ready to be put back out onto the library shelves. I had only a few seconds to catch my breath before wheeling a cart into the library. So much for relaxing and catching up on my reading.
I think people used to think it was such a relaxing and peaceful job. Well, the reality of it, it's not very peaceful most of the time. We're pretty busy the whole day long.
Janet and I then wheeled our cart to put some books back on the shelves. For Janet and her experienced colleagues, this part of the job is a snap.
The way we become so familiar with certain categories that we know the call number, and sometimes it surprises patrons because they'll say, well, can you tell me where to find knitting books? And then you rattle off this number and they're just always surprised by that. But when you do it every day, you know, it just gets to be that way.
since I'm not quite a master with the Dewey Decimal System, Janet thought she would take it easy on me.
These books are fiction, so that's probably the quickest and easiest.
In theory, this should have been easy, but I certainly didn't set any speed records with the books I had to put away.
These books look the same after a while.
After a while, though, I kind of got the hang of it, and who knows, I may branch out to nonfiction sometime in the future. Well, that ends my day working as a page at the Maplewood Library. With over 3,000 items being returned daily, there's always plenty for the circulation department to do. Frankly, I'm exhausted. Kids these days have a quick way to get help with their homework thanks to an innovative program. Let's check out Homework Rescue. If a student needs a lifeline while doing their homework, there's a new online tutoring service that's ready to come to the rescue.
We call it Homework Rescue because students notoriously don't always get things done at time, and so it's like, oh, it was due 2 days ago, we're not going to drive anywhere. Okay, we have this service where you can get professional help to get your homework answered.
Homework Rescue is available to any student in grades 3 through 12 who have a library card from a metro area public library. Area libraries have the Metropolitan Library Service Agency, or MELSA, to thank for making Homework Rescue available.
Well, what MELSA does throughout the 7-county metro area is negotiate contracts for shared resources and programs for the libraries. So this is an example of one of those. MELSA negotiated a contract that would allow us to make this available through all 105 of our metro public libraries.
Students can log into Homework Rescue through their library's website to get help in a variety of subjects, including math, science, and English.
It's an instant message platform, and so students type their questions, and then there's a kind of a whiteboard where you can write your actual assignments on the computer screen. A live tutor will stay on there until you get the right answer. It takes about 3 minutes to get a tutor. There's no, they don't time out. You can spend all day if you want.
The Homework Rescue program is sure to make life a little easier for not only busy parents, but librarians too.
I think people sometimes don't realize that librarians get a lot of homework questions. People just walk up with their textbook and say, I'm really having problems with my algebra, and we kind of say, well, we have a lot of problems with algebra too. We can try to get the right resource. So for us to be able to go, well, let's sit you down on a computer and let's get you an algebra tutor right now. I just think that in itself has been phenomenal.
The service is available for patrons of any metro area library, including the Ramsey and Washington County systems. So far, MELSA is happy with their investment.
We have really had great feedback on it. People seem to really enjoy using it because you can do it when you want to, and the tutors will stick with you. They don't get impatient like some of us kind of do when we can't help our kids with their homework, and they'll help you along how to do it rather than just finding the answer and giving it to you. They'll sort of help you learn how to find the answers. So it's also a great way to just teach kids how to find and use resources well.
To get more information about Homework Rescue, talk to your local librarian or log on to your library's website. That's all we have time for on this special library edition of Northeast Journal. Thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in again next month for another new program.